Hello and welcome back to the Project Management PrepCast, where satisfied customers prepare for their project management certification. I'm your instructor, Cornelius Fichtner. In this lesson, we look at how projects and organizations fulfill the needs and expectations of customers, which results in satisfied customers. Some want to even go beyond and aim to delight customers. So in this lesson, we start by giving a background on customer satisfaction metrics, including a brief introduction to the concept of satisfaction. We also explain the relationship between customer satisfaction and quality concepts, like perception and expectations, including a discussion on how to measure customer satisfaction. We close the lesson by talking about the role of the project manager in customer satisfaction metrics. We should get your satisfaction in place first, though, by not waiting any longer and diving straight in. Focusing on customer satisfaction facilitates projects to stay aligned with your organization's and customers' goals and expectations. The benefits are huge. First, success is based on customer satisfaction. If your customers are not satisfied, then your projects are not really successful. As we all know, satisfied customers are strong indicators of whether customers are likely to do return business with you. But customer satisfaction is not just at the end of the project. It happens throughout the project by reporting on key metrics to show progress and helping and educating customers on the deliverables. You may have noticed that the word customers is plural because there may be more than one. You hear a lot about customer satisfaction, but have you ever stepped back and thought about what it really means? The first thing that comes to mind is that customer satisfaction has to do with whether or not the customer likes the products or services that your organization has to offer. However, customer satisfaction may also depend on the customer's expectations about your organization. Having a reputation in the industry for high-quality products may set a customer's expectation very high, including an expectation of a higher price. Customers expect more from you than they do from your competitors. Conversely, if your products or services have the reputation for inferior quality, your potential customers are not going to be compelled to do business with you, let alone give you good marks on satisfaction. A customer might get the feeling of satisfaction based on one or more interactions with your organization. Probably everyone has taken a customer satisfaction survey after dealing with a bank, retailer, online store, or other vendor. The goal of such a survey is to determine if the interaction with a representative, buying a product, or other dealings met your expectations, including whether a person is friendly, the buying experience is easy, the product is clearly defined, or pricing was competitive. To understand customer satisfaction, it helps to break the concept into its constituent part, customer satisfaction. So we start with the customer. The PMBOK guide is somewhat vague about defining a project's customer. Understandable. There are so many different types of projects. If you are a custom home builder working with a family to build them a house, your customer is clearly the home's buyer. It's easy to identify the customer, and people know who you are referring to when using the word. If you are working in a larger company delivering a new process for use inside another division or business unit, the concept of the customer becomes a little fuzzier. Many people think of customers as being limited to people outside the company. However, from the project's perspective, the business unit is the project's customer, even though what you may be delivering to them benefits their customer. Now think about our first example, but place it in a much larger company, one that builds multiple subdivisions in cities around the country. If you are the project manager running a project to build only a few houses, who is your customer? There could be houses that are being built on spec. On spec means that a house is built on speculation of there being a customer at some point in the future, while some other houses could be for actually identified buyers. In this case, you have both internal and external customers. The executives that want you to stay inside budget and schedule or deliver a certain outcome for the on-spec houses are your internal customers, while the home buyer that wants his or her dream home is your external customer. You need to satisfy both with their potentially opposing views of success, one wanting the highest price possible, the other wanting the lowest. You may have thought that identifying your project's customer would be easy, but at times it can be hard. Next, we need to understand what satisfaction means. In their book on customer satisfaction evaluation, Evangelos Grigoroudis and Yannis Siskos propose that the definition of satisfaction comes from two distinct categories. Satisfaction can be described from the perspective of an outcome, such as from a single, non-recurring transaction, a state of being adequately or inadequately rewarded by using a product or service. The reward could be a positive feeling or a pat on the back for making a good decision. This definition includes the customer's comparison of the reward and costs of the purchase in relation to the anticipated outcome. Satisfaction in this category is the end state, resulting from the consumption of a product or service. Satisfaction can also be viewed as a process of ongoing exposure, where customer satisfaction evolves. This could be a continued evaluation of a customer experience as being at least as good as it was supposed to be. The definition includes a customer's response if they have prior expectations based on performance and the difference from what they actually experience. Satisfaction in this category is related to the events that occur during a process, before, during, and after consumption of a product or service, and potentially continuing into the future. In our case, customer satisfaction is more likely to be based on a process, as a project is a prolonged engagement. And from this, it is clear that satisfaction is strongly correlated with customer perceptions and expectations. Your customer's perception of your product or service and its quality is very subjective. Their perception, however, is the reality that you must live with. If your customer thinks the quality of your product or service is poor, it is doubtful that they'll want to purchase it or recommend it to others. Your challenge is to determine what they expect from your organization and your brand. Find out if they see your organization as unique and innovative. If they don't, but you do, you should find a way to bridge that gap, or they won't be your customers for long. When your organization and your customers' perceptions of your attributes align, you are much more likely to keep your customers happy and earn their return business. It's a never-ending job to gather their honest feedback, since your customer's opinion of your product or service is always changing. According to the PMP Guide's description in the Project Quality Management knowledge area, customer satisfaction is of ever-increasing importance to modern project quality management approaches. Expectations are not left to chance. PMI sees that project teams need to understand, evaluate, define, and manage requirements so that customer expectations are met. This requires a combination of conformance to requirements to ensure that the project produces what it creates to produce, and fitness for use. The product or service needs to satisfy the real needs. In agile environments, stakeholder engagement with the team ensures customer satisfaction is maintained throughout the project. Overall, project success is dependent on satisfying the customer and having quality products and services. For years, people have felt that customer satisfaction metrics have been the solution for determining customer loyalty. It was thought that as long as you met or exceeded your customers' expectations, they would be a satisfied customer. And as a satisfied customer, they would continue to do business with you and be loyal to your organization. Not quite. It turns out it's not that easy. In a one-year study of banking customers conducted by Thomas Jones and Earl Sasser Jr., they uncovered that 6% of extremely satisfied customers closed their accounts, but during the same time period, 5.8% of unsatisfied customers also closed their accounts. Jones and Sasser showed that customer satisfaction couldn't be used solely to track customer loyalty. In fact, it appears that you should be looking at a range of customer satisfaction metrics to better understand your customers and their loyalty. The first step in this process is coming up with a clear picture of the customer. Then our organizations can focus on the most valuable customer or customer groups for marketing, sales, and product development resources to be more effective. Here we start by gathering what you already know about your customer. For example, who your largest customers are, the value of the average single purchase, how happy they are with your products or services, and so on. Then you can look for patterns across the data that you've collected. Interview your customers and look for qualitative information. Understand the underlying needs. Look for similarities and common purchasing barriers between customers. Evaluate the assumptions that you thought you knew about your customers. Compare your original assumptions to your findings from customer interviews. If customers do not feel that there is a viable market for your products and services, then return to your concept of your ideal customer definition and revise it to meet the new profile, or change your product and service offerings. Finally, use all the information you have collected to create customer personas, or a definition for each core customer group that you've identified. Personas can be used across your teams to get a clear picture of the different types of customers you have and the needs that you are filling with your products. Understanding your customer shapes how you sell your projects and how you and your project team should relate to the customer. The best way to find out this information is to ask your customers. Although it may be tempting to simply ask, "Will you buy from us again?" it's a little too easy for the customer to just answer, "Of course I will," and move on. The loss is yours, as you might miss the opportunity to learn more about your customer. Here are some examples of questions that help you gain more comprehensive views of your customers. How satisfied are you with the purchase you made or the project? How satisfied are you with the service that you received or our team? How satisfied are you with our organization overall? Focus on loyalty and ask how loyal they are to your organization and services. Ask about follow-on purchases or how likely they are to purchase from you again. Ask for a testimonial or how likely they are to recommend your product, services, or organization to others. And also ask what the customer likes or does not like about the product, experience, or organization, and how you can improve. Surveys have no value, though, if you fail to act. Use the results to fix what your ideal customers identify as weaknesses. Doing something constructive with their feedback is the best way to ensuring that you keep them as loyal customers. As the saying goes, what gets measured gets done. Future decisions should be based on these metrics. The dangerous part about metrics, though, is that your project team wants to achieve the desired metrics, whether or not they truly measure project success. Therefore, it is best to look to some guidelines for creating usable metrics that really do help measure project success. Metrics must be informative and predictive. They need to provide relevant and useful information about what has been achieved, and the metric must relate to future positive outcomes. For instance, if a customer gives you high scores on being flexible on change requests, does this translate to an on-time delivery, or are customers frustrated that the changes cause delays and cost overruns? Metrics must be objective and consistent as well. They must also be independent of who's doing the measuring. They should be easy to take and, if at all possible, automated. If a metric requires a lot of manual work, the responsible project manager or team member may have other priorities and may not have the time or interest to collect such measures. Over time, the process is simply abandoned. Organizations should consider how much time is spent tracking the metric. It might not be worth the effort. By using these guidelines to create metrics, you have clear evidence to explain good or bad project status to your stakeholders and leadership team without any grey areas. But since we can't measure everything, we should select metrics that are most applicable to our organization. Conversely, there is no single metric of customer satisfaction. So over the next few minutes, we cover some examples of a few quantitative methods for determining customer satisfaction. First, some quality-focused metrics. Post-interaction surveys are great tools to use immediately after dealing with a customer. Ask the customer about the person's customer service skills, technical knowledge, completeness of solution, issue resolution time, or resolution satisfaction to measure the effectiveness and consistency of the experience. You can do this for anyone on your team, including yourself. Determine if a self-service or community experience was sufficient. Monitor and track your customers' access to your help tools and determine if they found the answers they needed and whether they have suggestions how to make the tool or its content more useful. Quarterly or annually, send out relationship surveys, asking vendors, suppliers, and service providers about their experience in working with your team, department, or organization. In this case, you can ask for opinions outside your normal customer base to get a holistic range of opinions on your organization. We have already talked about a few customer loyalty questions, so don't forget those. Remember, the key is to start by understanding your organization's value proposition and then select the specific set of metrics that help achieve that mission. Obviously, not all metrics are with the external customer. Some are internal. Internal financial metrics are quantitative methods for inferring customer satisfaction. Although not an obvious contributor to customer satisfaction, financial metrics are considered a predictive metric. They are vital to the customer's overall experience. Satisfaction suffers if the financial resources are insufficient to cover the customer's requirements. Gross margin is the percent of total revenue that the organization retains after direct costs. Low margin activities garner more scrutiny. Decisions in low-margin projects are focused on preserving what little margin exists and trying to improve it. This can affect the quality of the deliverable as the lower-cost options take priority. Burden rate is the measure of the cost of a billable resource, including all the indirect cost associated with a resource. For people, that would include costs of bosses, support staff, inventories, and the like. Burden rates are another helpful financial metric. For instance, if your company's burden rate are $150 per hour and your competitors is $100 an hour, you can bet that your prices are going to be appreciably higher than your competitors, and your customer is less likely to be happy. That is, unless your product or services are actually perceived by your customers as being that much more valuable. Whereas the burden cost per incident compares the total costs versus the number of incidents resolved in a period. It shouldn't be a surprise that if the burden rate is too high, the customer's experience is likely less positive, as cost control will again place pressure on the quality of service. Last in our examples of quantitative methods to determine customer satisfaction are operational metrics. They are generally thought of as post-project metrics. That is, after the project's products are turned over to the customer and they call in for support. But they can also be used while the project is running to track perceptions on its operation. During the project, metrics may include any of the earned value analysis metrics, such as cost variance or performance indices. You can also set up metrics around time to process change requests, resolve issues, respond to phone calls or emails, anything that might show responsiveness to the customer and increase satisfaction. Post-project metrics are just as important. Maybe you can monitor help desk incident volumes, which are also measures of project quality. Talk time metrics help understand the quality of agent responses. If one particular customer service representative continuously takes a long time to complete calls, they may require coaching or additional training. If one customer makes more calls, maybe their delivery was below par and they need training or some other intervention. Response resolution escalation and incoming call rates help you determine how quickly the customer's requests are handled or if escalation is necessary. Hold time and abandonment rates determine whether the customer even gets to speak with a representative or if they drop off the call because they just simply had to wait too long. All these metrics help us understand the customer's experience and, more importantly, if they are satisfied with your products, organization, and services. Project managers who are mindful of customer service and satisfaction contribute directly to having satisfied customers. As such, we help improve satisfaction metrics for the teams, departments, and organizations that we support. Measuring customer satisfaction is one of PMI's cross-cutting knowledge and skills that a project manager should understand. This helps you manage the project successfully, keep customers happy, and yes, pass your exam. The project manager must proactively manage quality to increase the probability of meeting quality objectives and, in turn, gain customer satisfaction. The project manager should foster a team environment where customer experiences matter and are tracked. And do not forget that you, as the project manager, must also communicate metrics with the project team and with stakeholders. As we close this lesson on customer satisfaction, here's a review question to see how well you understood the material. Which best describes the project manager's role with regard to customer satisfaction? Is it A, waiting for customer complaints to confirm a product improvement? B, sharing metrics with team and stakeholders? C, prioritizing cost over quality? Or D, gold plating to ensure customers are delighted? I'll give you a few seconds to think about the answer. If you need more time, just pause the lesson. Are you ready? Let me remove the answer choices and then I'll go through each one by one, starting with the ones that are incorrect. So, A, you should be proactive in satisfying customers and not wait for complaints before initiating a product improvement. Then we have C. Here it is uncertain whether prioritizing costs over quality would lead to satisfied customers. I can think of many situations such as areas of safety and health where sacrificing quality would not result in satisfied customers. And then D, you should not succumb to gold plating, which is a form of scope creep, even if your goal is to satisfy the customer. So that means that the correct answer is B. As a project manager, you should share metrics with team and stakeholders so you can learn how to better satisfy customers. Since we've learned that there are a lot of factors influencing a customer satisfaction, we should recap this lesson with some takeaways. To have a satisfied customer, they must like the products or organization and the services that you deliver. Their satisfaction is subjective because it is dependent on their perception of your deliverables. Your organization's reputation is dependent on your customer's satisfaction. To achieve customer satisfaction, you must first understand your customers and then ensure that your products and services provide them value. You can have some confidence that the customers may use your organization again if you meet their needs. You learn about how well you are meeting your customer needs by using a variety of techniques, including customer satisfaction surveys. You can also use various internal and external metrics to gauge or predict customer satisfaction. These include measuring costs, response time, and level of resolution. And this concludes the lesson on customer satisfaction, and I hope that you're satisfied with it. Until next time.